At 79, Mrs. Nan had seen the world shift beneath her feet more than once. Wars, regimes, technologies, cultures. She had buried a husband, raised 3 children, and now lived alone in a modest home with a tiled garden where she grew basil and bitter melon. People in the neighborhood called her Ba Nan with respect, not just for her age, but for her sharp tongue and clear eyes. One morning, after her daily walk and a bowl of warm congee, she sat in the shade of her veranda and began to write a letter, not to anyone in particular, but to herself, or perhaps to others like her. Not a diary, not a farewell, just a list. A list of truths no one had dared tell her when she turned 60 or 70 or even last year. 7 brutally honest life lessons that she believed every senior deserved to hear. 1. Nobody owes you their time, not even your children. She wrote this first with a steady hand. It had taken her years to admit it. In the early days of retirement, she had felt hurt when her children didn't visit often. They're so busy, she'd say, trying to hide the sting. Eventually, she stopped expecting. Not because she stopped loving them, but because she understood that love doesn't come with a schedule. Her children had their own lives, struggles, and rhythms. Waiting for them or measuring their love by their presence only bred disappointment. So instead of clinging, she began reaching inward, filling her own time, choosing her own joy. 2. Health is your real wealth. Guard it like treasure. Once she'd laughed at fitness advice. At my age, she used to say. But now she knew mobility was the difference between independence and dependency. She had friends who once ruled their households, now unable to climb stairs or dress themselves. Nan did stretches every morning, nothing fancy, just slow arm rolls, gentle squats, deep breathing. She watched her sugar, her salt. She drank water before she felt thirsty. No one else could maintain her body. It was her last house, and she had to keep it standing. 3. You are not the main character anymore, and that's okay. This truth had cut the deepest. In her youth, she was the center, the cook, the planner, the problem solver. But now life spun around younger people, faster lives. She'd once tried to keep up, offering advice nobody asked for, inserting herself into her children's parenting decisions, reminding others of her experience. But experience, she'd realized, wasn't always welcome, and wisdom, if uninvited, could feel like intrusion. So she let go. She became a quiet observer. She offered her thoughts only when asked. And to her surprise, people came to value her more, not less. Silence gave her dignity. Not 4. Loneliness doesn't kill, resentment does. There were days the silence in her house stretched too long. No calls, no knocks. In the past, it would have made her bitter, but resentment poisoned everything. It made food tasteless, sunshine dull. She'd known elders who became angry shadows, blaming others for their isolation. So she learned to sit with her solitude, not fight it. She filled it with music, books, gardening. She made friends at the morning market. She adopted a stray cat who didn't say much but always stayed nearby. Loneliness was real, but it passed. Resentment stayed, if you let it. 5. Stop saving the good things. Use them now. In her cupboard, she had bowls that hadn't been touched in 20 years, scarves she kept for special occasions, expensive tea leaves from a gift, untouched. One day she opened them all. What am I waiting for? She whispered to herself. She drank the tea. She wore the scarf to the local store. She ate from the porcelain bowls. And it made her laugh. How often seniors preserve things for a future they might never see. Every day could be a special occasion if you let it. Not 6. Forgive, even if they're not sorry. Her husband had not been perfect. Neither were her siblings, her children, or even her friends. Over time, she had stored up wounds like old photos in boxes, never looking at them, but never discarding them. One night, unable to sleep, she remembered a saying, "You forgive for yourself, not them." So she tried. She wrote down every name, every pain, and then one by one, she let it go. Not because they asked for it, but because her heart deserved peace more than it deserved justice. Some people die never hearing sorry. She would not die still waiting. 7. Love yourself more than anyone else does. It had taken her nearly 80 years to realize that the person she needed most wasn't her late husband, or her children, or even God. It was herself. She had ignored herself for decades, serving others, pleasing others, staying quiet to keep peace. Now she made herself a cup of tea just the way she liked it. She chose clothes for how they felt, not how they looked. She gave herself permission to rest, to cry, to laugh loudly. No one could fill her with love if she was empty inside. So she stopped waiting to be cherished and began cherishing herself. By evening, Nan folded the paper neatly and placed it under her favorite book, The Tale of Keo. Not because she needed to share it, but because it was part of her truth now. Later that week, her neighbor's daughter stopped by to chat. She was in her 40s, stressed about work, aging parents, life's chaos. "I feel like I'm losing myself," the younger woman confessed. Mrs. Nan smiled softly. "It happens," she said. "But if you're lucky, you'll find yourself again. Just promise me one thing." "What?" "When you get old, really old, don't pretend you know everything. That's when you finally start learning." The younger woman laughed, but there was a silence between them that felt warm, respectful, complete. And as the sun dipped once more behind the tiled roofs of the street, Mrs. Nan sat back in her chair, her hands resting on her lap, her spirit calm. She didn't need a legacy. She just needed the truth. And now she lived by it, day by day, breath by breath.